We turn our attention today to the evolving situation surrounding Social Security, an issue that continues to generate both hope and unease among millions of Americans. The Social Security Administration, its long-term financial stability, and the mechanisms that keep it running are under scrutiny as new policies and legal battles reshape its landscape. Our goal here is to unpack these changes, explore their origins, and explain what they might mean for those currently drawing benefits or expecting to in the years ahead. As of today, March 25, 2025, we're just 2 days away from a pivotal shift in how the Social Security Administration operates, with changes slated to take effect on March 27. Before diving into that, let's look at a major development that's been making waves. The acting head of the agency recently made headlines by confirming that Social Security will not grind to a halt, a decision that walks back earlier suggestions of a potential shutdown. This stems from a legal ruling that stirred debate across government circles. A U.S. district judge issued a decision blocking the Department of Government Efficiency, commonly referred to as DOGE, from accessing the personal data of millions of Social Security recipients. The judge's ruling painted DOGE's request as an unwarranted overreach, arguing that it amounted to a broad sweep for potential fraud without concrete evidence to back it up. This wasn't a Supreme Court decision but one from a lower court, yet its impact rippled quickly. Initially, it raised alarms that Social Security employees, interpreted as DOGE affiliates under the ruling, might lose access to the very systems they rely on to process claims and payments, potentially paralyzing the agency. The Social Security chief's response was to reassure the public that operations would continue uninterrupted, averting what could have been a major disruption. DOGE itself has been no stranger to controversy, caught up in multiple lawsuits over its efforts to pull sensitive information from various government bodies. Some voices, skeptical of DOGE's unelected status, argue it shouldn't have such reach into personal records. Others counter that without access to comprehensive data, DOGE can't fulfill its mission of rooting out waste and inefficiency across federal programs. This clash shines a light on a deeper, systemic issue: the fragmented way government entities handle and share information. Federal agencies often operate in silos, and states rarely align their systems with one another. For example, it's possible for someone to collect Social Security payments in one state, move to another and inadvertently, or intentionally, receive duplicate benefits because the two jurisdictions don't cross-check records. These discrepancies might go unnoticed until federal auditors step in, sometimes years later. Advocates for broader data access say it's the key to plugging these leaks, but privacy concerns and questions about oversight keep the debate alive. Shifting gears, let's examine a pressing change that's about to hit Social Security recipients directly. Starting March 27, the agency is overhauling its approach to overpayments. Those instances where beneficiaries receive more than they're entitled to, whether due to clerical errors, unreported life changes, or other factors. Under the previous policy, established during the Biden administration, the Social Security Administration could only reclaim 10% of a person's monthly benefit to offset an overpayment. That's about to change dramatically. Now, the agency will have the authority to withhold up to 100% of a monthly payment until the overpayment is fully recovered. To illustrate, imagine someone receives a $1,200 monthly benefit but owes $800 due to an earlier mistake. Come April, their payment could drop to $400, wiping out the debt in a single month. For smaller overpayments, this could mean a quick resolution. But for larger sums, say a $6,000 overpayment on that same $1,200 benefit, the agency could take the full amount for 5 consecutive months, leaving the recipient with no income from Social Security during that time. This shift has sparked concern among advocates for the elderly and disabled, who note that many beneficiaries rely on these funds as their primary lifeline. Overpayments can happen for a variety of reasons: a miscalculation by the agency, a failure to report a new job or marriage, or even changes in household size that affect eligibility. The challenge is that recipients are required to notify the Social Security Administration of such changes promptly, either through an app, an online portal, or in-person visits. For tech-savvy individuals, this might be straightforward, but for others, particularly older adults who may struggle with digital tools, it's a significant hurdle. Compounding this, the agency has announced plans to close several of its physical offices as a cost-saving measure. Locations in places like White Plains, New York, Logan, West Virginia, and Las Vegas, Nevada, are among those slated to shutter, with more closures likely on the horizon. The idea is to push more services online, streamlining operations. But for those who depend on face-to-face assistance, The loss of a local office could mean traveling much farther, sometimes dozens of miles, to get help, a burden that's especially heavy for those with limited mobility or resources. Another wrinkle in this story involves tax refunds. Reports are emerging that some individuals aren't receiving their expected refunds because the IRS is redirecting them to the Social Security Administration to cover overpayments. Here's how it breaks down. If someone is actively receiving benefits and repaying an overpayment through monthly deductions, their tax refund is generally safe. But for those no longer on Social Security, say former SSI recipients who've moved off the program, the agency can claim their refund to settle outstanding debts. This has caught some by surprise, especially those counting on that money for essentials like housing or utilities. The broader context here is the Social Security Trust Fund's looming financial strain. Analysts project it could face insolvency within the next decade unless significant reforms are made, and recovering overpayments is one way the agency is trying to shore up its reserves. Critics argue this approach risks pushing vulnerable people into hardship, while others see it as a necessary step to protect the system's future. So where does this leave us? On the plus side, the Social Security Administration remains operational, and some beneficiaries can rest easier knowing their tax refunds won't be touched if they're already repaying debts through their benefits. On the downside, the new overpayment policy and office closures could create real challenges for those least equipped to navigate them. As these changes roll out, their full impact will become clearer in the weeks and months ahead.